So now I want to show you how to do some versions of copying and pasting, and it has an unexpected twist that's really important for entering formulas and understanding formulas in Excel. So let me just put in one more book here. Um, let's say something a little bit unusual for an environmental consulting company. So let's put in a few more numbers. Oh, I said gone with the end. That's funny. Typing in and talking at the same time. So let's say this is 750. This is a deluxe edition. Maybe it's like 29, 25. Okay. And I want the full cost and the discounted cost for each of these. And then I'm just going to populate everything in here, in fact. So how can I just do this? Well, very nice feature is in this situation, we'll see some twists here, but in this situation, if I just click in the cell and then do copy, and of course Control C is the quicker way to do that. Click in the cell and I do paste. You might think that's exactly the wrong thing to do because I don't think 2 times 750 is going to be $36, but let's see what happens if you do paste. It actually comes out to be 2 times 750, which is $15. So let's see what happened with that. What it did was it's using what's called relative referencing. When I put in, you saw me put in the previous part, equals C4 times D4. And that doesn't really mean what it looks like it means. What it really means is that given that I'm in cell E4, what it means is, and notice when I go back to edit it, it sort of color codes everything in a very nice way. It says, okay, when he said C4, computer thinks, okay, that really means whatever is 2 to the left because I was in E4. And when he said D4, he really meant what was it, whatever was 1 to the left. So it's all about the relative position of the cells you click or enter in by hand based on where you're entering in the cell is that you're editing or entering the formula. Okay, so when I copied and pasted that, it actually turns automatically into equals C5 times D5, which luckily is exactly what I wanted it to be. I didn't want to copy the number 36, and I didn't want to copy a formula that referred to the quantity and price for fake name 1. I wanted to refer to the quantity and price for Napoleon Dynamite, item number 2, and it did. Okay, so similarly, if I do copy on that one, go down one and paste, Control C and Control V, of course, being quicker, then that's going to give you the right thing. And what's going on here? That's a fairly common thing. It just has something that it's a little bit too big to write. So let me just fix that by making this a little wider. There we go. It needs a lot of room for the dollar sign and the space and everything like that. Okay, so if you see those hashtags, the number signs, then just make it bigger or make the font smaller. Most likely it's perfectly fine. It just is too big to display. Okay, so in fact, maybe this is going to need a little bit more width too. All right, so now let's try the same trick with the discounted cost. This was E4, the full cost of the first line item, times the discount, the discount factor, which was 1 minus the discount amount. Okay, and here we're going to come up with a problem. So I'm going to copy this. I'll go down. I'll paste. And unfortunately, it's not taking the 20% discount off. So let's click in and see what gets highlighted. Okay, so here what's happening is the smart thing that it was doing before, it's replicating that, and we don't want it to do that completely. We do want this to refer to E5. That's totally good. So we want that trick of relative referencing to work for the E5, which was an E4 up here in the 2880 there in cell F4. But we didn't want this thing to move. This discount applies to everybody. It's a universal. And unfortunately, it moves down by 1 because it's thinking we wanted relative referencing. So here's how to fix that. Okay, so that's going to be something we need to fix, but we really actually have to go fix it in the originating formula. This is actually where the error was. I should, whenever you enter in a formula into Excel or any spreadsheet, you should think ahead of time, am I going to copy this anywhere ever? And if so, should the references follow me, like we saw in a minute ago with the relative ones, or should a reference be an absolute reference and not move around? And that's what I want with the H2. Okay, so here's how you do that. If I do not want the column to change, I put a dollar sign in front of the letter for the column. And I do not want the column to change. I don't want it to go left or right. I also don't want the row to change. Actually, that was the problem that we saw a minute ago, is that it changed to H3. If I don't want the row to change, I put a $sign separately in front of the row number. Okay, so it looks kind of awkward, $H $2 instead of H2. But that means that whenever I copy and paste this in any way, that's going to stay, but the E4 is going to float, is going to be relative, and that's going to be fine. So when I enter this in and I edit the original one, it's not going to change at all. It's not going to look like I did anything different. It's still 2880. But the important thing is that now when I copy and paste that, aha, now that is $15 minus 20% of $15, which is $3 if you think about it. And that's got the discounted amount. And now if I click on it again to double check, aha, yes, it's highlighting this cell, the full cost of line item 2, and the discount, and that has not moved. Okay, so, and I can just cancel that. I didn't really want to edit it. Okay, so then I could do another copy and paste, and we get the discounted version of the Gone with the Wind order. Okay, now that still gets tedious if there's 100 things to do. Copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. So let me show you a couple ways to what's called filling down. Okay, so I'm going to go over the full cost, for example. There's 3 ways to do it. One is click and drag everything you want to do. So this is including a top cell that's what you want, and you just want to fill. You want to copy it into everything under it. And then you go to fill again and select down. Now, right now, that's just giving a bunch of zeros, and those are entered as dashes in this formatting. Okay, but if I then put in whatever, some book, quantity 5, price $10, then it's automatically updated. Okay, so another way to do it, let me do that over here. If you, well, you can do it by shift down arrow. That's good, just purely on the keyboard. Okay, so I just did I just did shift and a bunch of down arrows to highlight. Or I can shift click. I'm going to do a shift and then click. Any way you can highlight those things is appropriate. And then if you really love keyboard shortcuts, which you should, Control D, at least on Excel, and I think most spreadsheets, I don't know if it works on the Mac stuff, will do a fill down, because it's so important. Fill down gets its own control command. Okay, so that's cool. There's one other way. Let me do a Control Z. There's another way that's pretty cool, but it's very much more mouse based, and it doesn't work very well with the trackpad. I have to say. Notice that plus for enter data changes to a slightly different plus sign here. If you hover over the bottom corner, if you click and drag that, then it automatically fills down. Lots of ways to do a fill down. Okay. Oh, whoops! I should have deleted these. Okay, I'm gonna enter those in a minute. Okay, so now we're just about set with this part of it. These guys are absolutely ready to put in new quantities and new prices if I need them, but it's not going to screw me up if I leave them here, because I'm just going to add in a bunch of zeros to these numbers, so that's fine. Okay. Now I want the subtotal and the tax and the total. Let me put in the tax rate here. Okay, let's say 7%. If you put in 7, that could be dangerous. Okay, put in 7%. And make sure to do a reality check when you look at the numbers to make sure it really is working as percent and not just 7. You might think it's 700% if you put it in wrong. Okay, so now what about the subtotal? I want the sum of all these things. That's pretty easy rather. So you do equals, and there's many formulas that you can enter in, and this FX gives you access to like a catalog of formulas, but sometimes it's just easy to just type it in. Equals sum, it gives you a bunch of suggestions, of parentheses, and then you could do number 1, comma, number 2. You could do click, comma, click, comma, click, comma, click, but it's easier to just click and drag to highlight a whole range. Notice that the way it shows that is F4 colon F13, so that's how it denotes a range. So very easy. Equal sum, open those parentheses, and then just click and drag to what you want to sum up. So that's automatically the sum of all these things, including the zeros, so then which aren't hurting us. Okay. Now I'm just going to add the tax, so that's going to be equals the subtotal times the tax rate. Now right now I don't have any particular need to copy and paste this anymore, but I'm going to try to observe good habits and say, you know, that tax rate, I don't want that wandering. Does not, if I do start copying and pasting this stuff, it's not going to make any sense for this highlighted square to start wandering. The tax rate is in one location on this form, nowhere else. So I'm going to put $signs in there to have good style. And then if in the future I copy it, I'm not going to get burned. Okay, there's the tax, and then I'm just going to do equals click plus click, and there's the total. Okay, so let's see. I've shown you fill down. I did a fill series a while ago. Okay, so one other thing, a very easy temptation, for example, very, very easy temptation would be to have put in, say, look, the tax rate's 7%. I'm just going to put 007 right here, 0.07, okay? And I'm just going to hardwire that, okay? Please resist that temptation. Don't ever hardwire a number into a formula. If you have the temptation, okay, then make a cell for it with a nice label next to it and refer to the cell. And if it's something that will never change or want to wander around, put it with $signs. The great thing is that then you can say, oh, hey, same order form, but the tax rate just went up. You don't have to go searching for where that's hiding in your Excel sheet. You just change the tax rate right there. Okay. And that's really the other lesson about spreadsheets. Once you've got it set up, you can play with it, and we're going to do a lot of that in our class. You can change the discount. Well, what if we only offered 10% discount? Oh, okay, we'll make some more money. Okay, or from the customer side, oh, I got to spend more money. What if we're going out of business and it's like a 60% discount? Whoa, what a bargain. Okay, we can go in here and change the price. We can go in here and say, hey, I want to give a bunch of copies of that great movie Napoleon Dynamite to my friends. I'm just going to increase the quantity, and everything gets recalculated instantly. Okay, that's all I wanted to do.